Hello, Steve White, Steve White 89. Well, we got the final Ghostbusters trailer, but it's kind of the fourth that we've had at the moment. And frankly, I didn't even realize we'd had a third. The third was the international trailer, which I didn't catch. So I had to go back and watch them all. I had to go back and watch the original teaser and get a bit of perspective, because this 5 trailers is a bit much. I don't recall the last time I saw a film with 5 trailers that wasn't like just broken down into like commercials and so forth. But yes, it revealed what everyone wanted to see, all the fans wanted to see. The original remaining three Ghostbusters in uniforms with their proton packs and their guns aimed. That's the very last shot, and we don't see them from the neck up. We just see from the waist. But and you can barely see Ernie. I had to lighten the screen to is he there? Yeah, he's there. But yeah, and then they actually played out the end of the trailer with the original Ghostbusters song. So this is probably the fan service that a lot of critics are attacking and upset about, because if this literally happens, if we actually have the Ghostbusters back in costume with the proton packs, busting ghosts, and the theme music playing and everything, a lot of people are going to be like, how dare they give the fans what they want? How dare they? Fan service, no! So, yeah, because there was a bit of some interesting critiques of the film. Some people were saying it's great. Some people were saying it was great until it got to the fan service. Some people it was great because of the fan service. I don't see what the problem with fan service is. Franchises exist because of fans, and that's what you make it for. Unless you're making a new independent film or making a new franchise, that's so the idea of this opposition to fans and fan service and so forth. It's a bit of an elitist, self-involved sort of idea, really, which I have a problem with in general. But the other issue is the Ghostbusters fans. The Ghostbusters fans, I mean, the original Ghostbusters films, I saw them as a child, I loved them because of the ghosts. And then I saw them as an adult, and I'm like, it's just kind of a bunch of sort of men who I wouldn't really want to socialise with personally. Just sort of, and ghosts. It's like their story and ghosts. And I'm like, okay, I don't really like this as an adult. So I didn't really get into the films as much. I liked the 2016 one okay, because it was the opposite of that, but it had its own issues. The whole stand-up sort of style of the comedy and the absolute treatment of men in the film that was really on the nose. But I didn't mind hanging out with the girls so much as I didn't really like hanging out with the boys. So I'm looking forward to Afterlife because it's a group of children. It's the whole town sort of being involved. It's not just the story of these couple of guys. Even if they do show up at the end and save the day or help or whatever they do, it's not really about them. So I'm okay with that, because it's okay for them to be part of it. I just didn't like the other films because it was just all about these guys, and it was more about their story in the first film, at least. The second film was more about the ghosts, and that's why a lot of the fans, I think, didn't like it, because it was more of a comedy, whereas the other film, the comedy just sort of happened from, you don't need a review of the movies, you've seen them. But the previews, this one, it didn't just show that last shot, it's focused on the last shot. It also had, because it's also in the international trailer, or the third trailer, as I was referring to it for ages before I realised it was the international trailer, has it looks like a little prequel sort of scene where it shows, we're guessing, Egon, or whatever his name was, I'm forgetting the names. Was it Egon Spengler? I can't remember their names. He's basically going out into like a field in his car and going to a house and busting a ghost, and then apparently putting that trap away at the end of that. And I'm guessing it's prequel, it might be a flashback. We see that at the start of the third one, and we see a little bit of that at the start of the fourth trailer as well. And I'm wondering how much American audiences are aware of the international preview, because, But I can't believe I'm still talking about trailers and it's nearly 5 minutes. And the other thing, unfortunately, here in Australia, we have to wait until January 1st. So everyone else in the world basically gets it on November 18 and 19. We have to wait another, 6 weeks to get the film. Although it doesn't have much competition, which is good. On the 16th of, well, actually, on the On the 16th of December, it's going to have Spider-Man 3 No Way Home, and then the 26th of December is going to have The Matrix, which is going to be hot on the heels of The Matrix just like 5-6 days later. But it's only directly competing with Sing 2, West Side Story. The next week they've got Addams Family 2 on January 6th, and A King's Man January 6th. So it doesn't have a lot of competition. It's probably going to do pretty well on that weekend. But yeah, the trailer gave us just that little bit of, yes, you're going to get the originals. Yes, they're back. Here's the theme music. We should have given you this in the first place, but here you go. That's sort of how the trailer went. And the other trailers, they all started from the start, showing a lot of footage and showing a lot of the story and the kids' story in the town, and that basically there was like a hell's mouth sort of opening under the town, and the ghosts were going to be coming out. The third trailer we actually got, or was it the second trailer? We actually got to see some of the actual spirits, monsters, the zombie, the ghost wolf, all that. They were in the second trailer. The third trailer, we saw more of that. But the third trailer really just had that little prequel bit where we saw someone going on one last ghost adventure. And then the fourth trailer, we saw a little bit of that, and then we saw the actual revelation that the original three Ghostbusters are going to appear at the end. So I'm okay with that. I like the idea of this movie being about the kids and being about, because I watched it as a kid. I related to Ghostbusters as a child's kids program, like the real Ghostbusters, the Filmation Ghostbusters. I never related to it as these adult men in the first film, which, like people were calling it Stripes of Ghosts, and I'm like, yeah, it kind of is. So I'm glad that they're moving the whole franchise into this different sort of area now where it's a bit more accessible. It's not accessible. It's not just a film for a bunch of old white men, which is what it was criticised for, and which is why a lot of the critics do hate the fans. It's a bit unfair, but I think Ivan Reitman is managing to actually expand that without actually throwing it out or disrespecting it like the 2016 did. I think they're actually going to include everyone in this, and it's going to be a nice, inclusive, new franchise where we get to see these kids grow up and become like the new Ghostbusters. I found it interesting, though, that there was only... there was 30 years where there'd been no ghosts. I'm like, well, how does that work? Because there were ghosts before that attracted them and, to ghostbusting, and they found that, I can't remember what it was called now, that big, I don't remember now how that even happened, that they had this like opening of like a hellmouth sort of thing, and they closed it. I'm like, did that mean all ghosts went into it? So where did people go when they died after that? Did they go into that hole? Did they not become ghosts? Has no one seen a ghost, or are people just not freaked out by ghosts, and it's an occasional personal occurrence when someone dies or something? So I'm curious how they handled that, because they showed them on YouTube. They established that, basically New York City was full of ghosts, and it was like The Walking Dead for a brief time, and then 30 years, nothing happened. So I'm curious to see how they explain that, and if they even do try and explain it, or if it just sort of happens in the background and they just sort of gloss over it. And, so I'm curious. I'm more curious about how they handled that than a lot of the other things in the trailer, in the movie that I saw in the trailer. But I'm going to go. Feel free to share, like, comment, subscribe. I didn't think I'd talk this long about the fourth trailer, but I did want to talk about the other trailers and the release and how it's looking in Australia and the schedule and everything, because it does suck, because we're going to know everything well before it gets here. I don't understand why they do staggered releases like that, because you could do that before the internet. You can't do it now. As soon as it gets out, it's out. Anyone who wants to see it can see it. And even if people don't want to see it, they're going to hear everything about it. I mean, I can't stay off the internet for 6 weeks. If it's maybe a week between international and local releases, you can just sort of ignore the internet for a week and not get it spoiled. Like I argued with a few people about Bond who got upset when I talked about the end of that film. But 6 weeks, yeah, no, it's going to be dead on some level by the time it arrives. So that's a huge mistake. Part of that was probably because we were locked down. We were only locked down like 2 weeks ago or a week ago or whatever. So maybe they had to put it so far out to make sure they actually got it. But I think they probably could have moved it up if they'd really tried. But I guess it's a chain, it's a schedule, it's all these different things. I can't believe I'm still talking, but I do kind of find this interesting how they plan this stuff out, and how far in advance was it planned out? Was it all based on the pandemic at that time, and then they didn't adjust it, or they couldn't adjust it because they had it all laid out, and so forth and so on, blah, blah, blah. But I might see it. It's January 1st. I'm getting my booster at the start of December. I might go and see it. It might be the first film I see, because I sort of said I'm going to start going out and doing stuff in January, assuming the numbers are down and I've got my third shot. But I'm not sure, because it will have already been online for 6 weeks, so who knows? I'll already know everything. But I'm really going to go this time. There's only meant to be like a 2 or 3 minute video about the trailer, but I love Ghostbusters, so I don't find it hard to talk about. I'm still going on. Bye.